and I had just gotten out of the shower. My husband and I were sitting here talking, and I heard the loud explosion, and we just kind of looked at each other and thought it was a little strange, and he made the comment, it sounded like an explosion, and I was like, well, you know, you would hear sirens if that was an explosion. Well, just then, all of a sudden, you hear sirens and, you know, ambulances and police cars, and so we weren't totally sure what was going on because, you know, I looked out of the window. I didn't see any kind of smoke or any buildings burning or anything that you would typically expect to see if there was some type of an explosion of such a nature. And so we just kind of waited for a short bit and then turned on the news, and that's when we saw all of the events kind of unfolding right there. There were a few people. One man actually next door to us in the hotel was at mile 25 and a half when the explosion went off, and he said that all of a sudden he just noticed a bunch of runners just turn around and just start running towards him, and he thought, this is really strange, and some people quickly approached him and said, the marathon's been shut down, it's closed, and he was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. How can it, you know, I'm like right here, half a mile from the finish, and they said, no, there's been a major explosion, and they just basically diverted everybody to the Boston Commons, and then if you were up to a certain point, they diverted you to, I think it was Kennedy Square or something. And there's a lot of people that basically haven't, just within the last 20 minutes, have just been allowed back into the hotel. Fortunately, since we've been in the hotel, we've just kind of stayed up here in the room. A little while ago, we were able to leave the room and go downstairs, and it's just kind of swarming with police officers and ATF and bomb squad, and you know, they're just kind of searching everywhere, all the floors, all the rooms, like not the rooms, but the bathrooms down in the main lobby area to just kind of make sure that nothing's happening. The whole area downstairs is blocked off with tape, so we can't really come and go. But it's pretty scary. I mean, it's not totally sure, you know, I mean, I'm hoping that everything is kind of done in that sense, that nothing else is going to happen, but when you're this close to it, it's kind of a little nerve-wracking, especially for such a wonderful event that's, you know, such an annual event.
Yeah, I can imagine. That just sounds frightening hearing you talk about it. Listen, you know, we can kind of get an idea from seeing it on TV, but talk about just the amount of people that are there to watch this race and how many are there at the finish line. This was a crowded area, right?
It is an extremely crowded area. The race is just known for such spectatorship to begin with. I mean, from start to finish, there's pretty much not a silent area for the whole 26.2 miles. Once you turn onto Boylston Street, I mean, it's literally elbow to elbow, people just packed to watch friends, family, you know, members, just anybody. And, I mean, you know, they come out from Fenway Park to watch everything as well. So that whole finish line area, there's bleachers and just crowds and crowds of people. I mean, apparently, you know, they say that it was timed for, you know, the average paced runner to come through and to affect most of the people. But, you know, I mean, it's hard to say because, you know, people were pretty spread out by the finish line, you know, so you don't usually have clusters of people, you know, that are coming in too close together. But there are a lot of spectators. I mean, there's just tons of people. This is such a big event for this whole entire area. And, you know, people just bring people to watch for it because in a runner's mind, everybody tries so hard to get here. It's just such an ultimate goal.
Right, and I'm sure all those people that you saw today, those faces probably running through your mind now that we hear over 100 people hurt and children involved.
Yeah,
and it's really
yeah. It is. It is very scary. I mean, I thank God that, you know, myself and my family weren't affected, but I pray for the families that were.
Jill, can you tell me a little bit about who you were there with? Were you just with your husband?
I was here with my husband and my 5-year-old we brought. Have a 2-year-old we left at home. They were down the street. Actually, the bleachers that are always that keep showing up on the screen, they were sitting in for a while waiting for me. And then my 5-year-old got cold, so they came back to the hotel for a little while until it got closer to my finish time. So I thank God that, you know, I was a fast runner today and that they weren't still sitting there. And, I mean, so many different things could have, you know, unfolded and just causes you to pause and think back to how, you know, you played the day out and, you know, events that could have made a difference or whatever. But they came with me to support me, and, you know, fortunately they were fine as well. But, you know, there's some that weren't as fortunate.
Oh, my.
So.
What's your plans now in terms of returning back to Middle Tennessee?
Well, we have a flight out tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Not really sure how the events will unfold. We were told that, you know, as hotel guests, we could come and go from the hotel. We spoke to one of the hotel representatives this evening, and she wasn't sure how it was going to play out in terms of taxis and shuttles to get to and from the airport. I mean, typically we would take a taxi, but right now, like, the whole area is roped off, so I'm not sure, if the taxis will be able to access the hotel or not. So we're kind of up in the air in limbo right now, not really sure what we're going to be doing.
Is it a